Speculation surrounding the world's most secretive state is at an all-time high right now. After spending weeks out of the spotlight and allegedly undergoing a cardiovascular procedure, many people are beginning to think that Kim Jong Un is dead. The leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea passing away has a whole slew of implications, many of which have been put front and center lately. Now, the reports of his death or imminent demise have been played down by officials inside and out, but there's no proof of anything happening for either possibility. There is no way for us to know for sure if he's alive or dead at the current moment. While people are obviously interested to know if Kim Jong Un is dead, as he's been portrayed as a maniacal villain of sorts in the past, it's equally important to consider what might happen if he returns to power in good health. Hello fellow friends and philosophers, and welcome back to the most mind-bending channel on YouTube, Life's Biggest Questions. I'm your voice in the void, Keegan Hughes, and today we're tackling a question that's been on a lot of minds. What if Kim Jong Un is still alive? As with most videos concerning international policy, I'm no expert, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I've looked all over for different opinions and possibilities, and I encourage you to do the same. Also consider how little information about North Korea actually gets released to the public while thinking about these circumstances. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more authoritarian information. Outstanding, let's get into it. Let's start with the major question on everyone's minds. How would we know? As I previously stated, North Korea is very secretive. The information they release is extremely limited and propaganda fueled. If their supreme leader was dead, they would take their time in putting together a lavish funeral and spinning it in the best way possible for their people. And if he were sick, well, he wouldn't be. Supreme leaders are better than that. If we look to announcements concerning the deaths of previous leaders, it can be seen that Kim Jong Un's predecessors were dead for days before any official announcement. So right now, unless he's currently deceased, we probably won't get any official updates anytime soon. If a special state television newscast does go out, it's possible to look at the broadcaster's wardrobe for hints as to his status. Pink clothing usually means good news, often broken out when a missile test is successful. Black is for bad news, and has been worn for the announcement of the deaths of the previous leaders. So if Kim Jong Un is still alive and makes a return to the public eye, expect to see some bright colors on North Korea's state television. Of course, that doesn't really tell us anything about his status right now. Why did this prominent figure suddenly go silent? Where could he be if he isn't dead? Well, there are a few options to consider. Whenever North Korean leaders disappear from the public eye for an extended period of time, speculation tends to run rampant. They're supposed to be all-powerful, and not hearing from them doesn't really play well with that idea. When you look at Kim Jong Un specifically, you can see that he did have health problems. There are also reports of him going in for cardiovascular procedures, which adds to the illness and possible death narrative. The biggest piece of evidence that makes people think something might be wrong is the fact that he missed national ceremonies on April 15th, a holiday in North Korea memorializing his grandfather and the founder of the DPRK, Kim Il-sung. This is not something that a supreme leader would miss without a very good reason. While official sources remain silent, there are many hypothetical reasons for Kim Jong Un to be alive and missing. First, he could simply be recovering from an illness or medical operation. Political elites in North Korea wouldn't want the general public or the world at large to see their leader in a weakened state. Whether or not the purported surgery went well, it's doubtful that anybody would allow Kim Jong Un to be seen during recovery. It doesn't send the right message. If they're going to continue touting him as infinitely strong, wise, and healthy, showing him injured or ill is not a good call. So that's one option. Another possibility is that the supreme leader is doing his best to distance himself from the coronavirus outbreak. Large events have been canceled and the border has been locked down, so it would make sense for him to be in hiding to avoid catching the virus. As a whole, the country is particularly vulnerable to viral outbreak. With most information being released to the public being propaganda, it would be difficult to get actual information to the public on how to remain safe. Add this to the many prisons and gulags that dissidents are sent to, and you have all sorts of breeding grounds for disease. Definitely not a good combination of circumstances. So with the country potentially full of COVID-stricken people in concentrated areas, one can see why Kim Jong Un would want to get away from it all. In fact, this possibility has seen some support lately. Based on satellite images and information from an apparently reliable source, Kim Jong Un could be spending some quality time at a resort compound. Folks are speculating that he may have taken some time for rest and relaxation away from all the hustle and bustle. It was reported that recent satellite imagery displays some boats often used by Kim near his villa in Wonsan. Apparently his train is parked at the station closest to Wonsan compound for over a week. Adding this information to a statement from a North Korean presidential aide claiming that Kim Jong Un is alive and well, then you have a bunch of information pointing towards possible leisure time for the leader. Why wouldn't an all-powerful dictator head off to his vacation spot to avoid any potential contact with a worldwide pandemic? It's also possible that it's not just fun and games there though. He could be taking time to regroup after some recent setbacks. The coronavirus cesspools mentioned earlier could be having major detrimental effects on the country. As such, this escape to the villa could be a strategic one, in which he and key advisors mull over their options. And speaking of mulling over options, it could also be a retreat to strategize. Now that South Korea has wrapped up its latest legislative election and the United States are heading to their next presidential election, it could be time for North Korea to figure out their plan. There is currently a complicated political relationship between the three nations and also between each nation and the world at large. The US wants to denuclearize North Korea and has been working with South Korea to make this happen. South Korea wants to find some common ground with North Korea and potentially move towards some inter-Korean rail and road projects, along with coordinating a coronavirus response. North Korea wants to keep its nukes and work on larger economic projects with the South. This, in theory, is all possible, but it's not likely to happen, especially the denuclearization stuff. Some big reasons the economic projects between North and South Korea haven't started are because of the sanctions placed on the DPRK by the US and UN in the hopes of getting them to reduce their nuclear stores. So it's all a big mess with nobody wanting to give too much leeway to anybody else. Disappearing to mess with people's heads and plan in secret could be possibly a weird power move by North Korea. As a sidebar, if Kim Jong Un was incapacitated but not dead in the long term, it would throw North Korea into disarray, making it harder for them to negotiate with other parties. The leadership might become a scrambly affair with plenty of opportunities for miscalculation and accidental escalation. Not ideal. If that's the case though, we'd be in for a very interesting time in North Korea. High-ranking officials could scramble to figure out who's next in line to lead, while also deferring to Kim Jong Un as supreme leader. It could turn into a weird proxy situation where there wouldn't necessarily be any centralized decision-making. Instead, a member of the leadership family's bloodline would be an interim leader or maybe just an advisor, although speaking through their leader. A lot of folks are saying that Kim Yo-jong could step up, but North Korea is politically conservative and has never had a woman leader before. And as all this is happening, the propaganda corps would be doing their best to spin the whole situation as wonderful and excellent. But who knows, right? I can't claim to know what might happen. Regardless of what's happening right now, other countries basically have to wait and see what's going on. No matter what though, whatever happens will be interesting. We've taken a look at a lot of possible scenarios today concerning the status of Kim Jong Un. Which do you think is the most likely? How about least likely? Do you think the Supreme Leader is still with us? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's have a look at some of your more jaded ones from what if the US and China went to war in 2020. The Futurist Tom says, I've been watching LBQ for years. I like their videos. That's why I decided to create my own channel. That is awesome, Tom. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to see your videos get huge. Rebel Scum says, we have to make sure we're all safe here first before we start killing each other. What a cutting way to put things into perspective. Stratos Mastro Gianidis says, what if Hans Gruber succeeded in killing John McClane, stealing all the money from the Nakatomi Plaza vaults? Then Jake Peralta will be a very sad man. It's over, I have the high ground, says, more jolly cooperation. Was that a Dark Souls reference you made there? It might be. All I have to say is, applaud the star. Michael Carter says, hashtag idea. What if Phineas and Isabella started dating at the beginning of the summer? Phineas and Ferb. Honestly, I think Phineas wouldn't participate in as many shenanigans. Dating someone requires a lot of time and attention. Time and attention that Phineas would otherwise be using on discovering something that doesn't exist / giving a monkey a shower. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Before I sink to the bottom of a pool of mercury, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more intercontinental content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.